This has got to be one of the cruelest moves I've seen come out of the Trump administration this week, where they've authorized ICE to deport individuals who've come to the United States legally. The Trump administration issued a memo on Thursday giving ICE the power to strip legal status of more than 1.4 million individuals who came into the United States through parole programs. This includes Afghans, Ukrainians, Venezuelans, Cubans, Nicaraguans, and Haitians. Now, there were two major Biden-era programs for parole for Ukrainians, as well as Cubans, Nicaraguans, Venezuelans, and Haitians, to apply through official channels to come to the United States legally. In addition, Afghans were brought into the United States through humanitarian parole by the U.S. government, many of whom risked their lives working alongside the U.S. military during the war in Afghanistan. Now, immigrants from these countries were given parole status for up to 2 years, but the memo appears to allow for expedited removal regardless of whether they still have time left on their humanitarian parole status. The memo directs ICE to analyze what immigrants they're quote-unquote aware of for fast-track deportation, which sidesteps the immigration court system, and consider whether or not they should be removed from the country. The memo suggests that ICE officers should prioritize targeting immigrants who've been in the United States for more than a year without parole but haven't yet applied for asylum. Now, normally if someone is in deportation proceedings, they have the right to fight their case in immigration court before an immigration judge. But this memo now instructs ICE officers to remove certain cases from immigration court and instead place people in expedited removal. Previously, expedited removal only applied when someone entered the United States without permission within the first 14 days of their arrival, and they had to have been within 100 miles of the U.S. border. But earlier this week, the Trump administration issued an executive order expanding that to nationwide and applying it to all those who entered within 2 years. This means that people who are waiting for their asylum hearings could now lose out on that right and suddenly face an expedited removal process and be deported without due process. Well, the ACLU has filed a lawsuit against Trump's fast-track deportation policy. It was filed this Tuesday, and they've alleged that these policies are unconstitutional and illegal. The ACLU stated that allowing Trump to move forward with this policy would allow him to circumvent the Constitution and due process. A former Homeland Security official also stated that subjecting individuals who played by the rules to summary deportations is a betrayal. A representative for the Justice Action Center stated that this memo allows ICE to target Afghans, Ukrainians, and others who followed the rules. So contrary to what's out there, Trump is not just focusing on unauthorized border crossings. He's weaponizing the system to go after people who came to the U.S. legally, as well as people who are still in legal status. In just days, his administration has dismantled key protections and has now put more than 1 million people at risk of sudden and immediate deportation. For more immigration news and information, feel free to give us a follow.